Hello, hello, hello. We are live. I am out in these streets doing multiple things at one time. Um, I am pulling over here so I can speak with you all freely. But it is. I did put. That's me, the third diamonds, right? I was just in a rush, kind of, sort of. Anytime, sometimes, like when I'm posting, I'm probably in motion. And 9 times
You don't say. You can tell.
on Instagram, like I probably in motion at work. Like there's rarely a time where I'm just on Instagram or on YouTube or anything, just posting and just in relaxation. But so yeah, I think I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't promoted anything. It's a Jack of Diamonds, right? Like in 10 of Diamonds. I haven't promoted anything as far as YouTube. And I was like, let me post up, put the time and dates and where we're gonna be going live. And I put July instead of September. So my apologies. It is, it is the week of September that we are in, and not July. For the Jack of Diamonds. It started 9/11, right? The King of Clubs. I'm pretty sure I put 9/11 and probably put July, but it started 9/11 until what was that? Which would be until
the 17th.
The 17th.
Yeah, 17th is Sunday.
Yeah, which would be Jack of Diamonds week. And what's also interesting is 9/11. It was September 11th. And the United States is the Jack of Diamonds. So we did speak on that just a little bit here previously. And in the background, if you can't see or you didn't see last week, is based upon the 10 of Diamonds. So let me change that to Jack of Diamonds. And that book that I posted from is Fortune Telling by the Cards, which is a form of cartomancy. Which is all of it cartomancy or cardology, which I've seen and is all in a sense to kind of a build off itself, right? It has same meanings, textures, and outcomes. So just knowing the card spreads, I feel and know, and from my research and what I've seen, gives you a lot more depth, as far as the card meanings and the outcome, and it'll make more sense if you know the full context of the spread. So that's why we come up here and put the spread up week by week and talk about the progression and layouts of each particular card, because that gives you that the karma of the cards. That lets you know the energy that um
Wakey.
What kind of music you got playing today, Gina?
Whatever Pandora plays on my little mix of, it swings a lot of reggae. I love listening to reggae because it helps me feel like I'm on an island, and I love being so. Most of the time, you're going to hear a lot of reggae in my house. But right now, that's 3 doors down that's playing. So I'm very eclectic with my music. I can go from,
me too.
Yeah, I'm very, very eclectic with my music. Music to me is, I think, a language that everybody can speak, and I love that. So I'm very big. I love. I used to do festivals, and music was definitely a thing. I used to work in a live bar, like or a bar that had live music. So I've met those really dope experiences.
Somebody brought in this concept of like, what's the music in you? Like, pretty much like, what song are you playing? So I was just like,
a bunch
hearing Rashad. Yeah, so I'm just like, all songs. But it's like, but I mean, there's still definitely a tone of us, right? We all have a certain kind of like, you could probably imitate my song. I could imitate your song to some degree, just in knowing each other. But anyways, I'm listening to Rashad saying that we're doing these weeklies and using the spreads to help people recognize that there's a cartomancy. I always like that word cartomancy. It always sounds like it's like some romantic illusion. But
Talk about romantic illusion, right? You want to, I guess more would be the Queen of Hearts, Neptune. But there's some type of illusion that
And
uh-huh.
Jack of Diamonds has her. You know,
Oh yeah, where?
Jack of Diamonds. Oh yeah, that. Isn't that the Jack of Diamonds Neptune card?
yeah, it is Neptune, but it is from
Yeah.
the
So the Jack of Diamonds is probably one of the only cards that's not a heart and that's a diamond that I'd give what I call my Rico Suave, stamp. and and it's because of that whole Neptune placement, like all of its cards being in Neptune, and the Jack of Diamonds is such a good energy to attract and to it like I always say with the Jacks, they can go from the Waffle House to the White House all in the same day. So it knows how to embody and convince you and be very I don't like the word manipulative, but it definitely knows how to use its words. It's a salesman. So
Let's
it's very
say charming. Let's say
there
they
you
have a
go.
charm.
Convincing. Very convincing, because it needs you to probably purchase something or buy or invest in something, or because remember it's the Prince of Wealth. So it has such a very strong essence of being able to attract, convince, persuade, and then like close the deal. So
yeah, they
Close the
always
deal.
got something up their sleeve, as you can
yeah.
see from what it says, taking advantage of the opportunity. So if an opportunity comes by person, place, whoever it
Oh wow.
said, they're going to talk their way into it. Even like
Mm-hmm.
she's, it's also network communication, right? The Uranus Neptune position can lead to like movies, some type of artistic, creative point of view. But using the people that's around them, right? Using that Neptunian, the likability or being able to converse and relate to someone from some type of emotional standpoint, or whatever it may be. Like you said, it's not an emotional card, but Neptune involves people emotionally in some type of way. And so, yeah, that particular card definitely has the eight cards, Queen of Hearts. So, using their emotions and, like you said, the power of persuasion or the using
Mm-hmm.
emotional, emotional power is the ability to control your emotions and control other people. By the way things you speak, say, or whatever it may be. You know. Um, so yeah, with the Eight of Hearts is that Jupiter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
so that's
Even more Rico Suave. I mean, look at that. You got the Eight of Hearts and the Queen of Hearts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Four of
Mm-hmm.
Hearts. So
yeah.
it really knows how. Like I say it in my
It's
readings. Like
seducing. It's downright seducing.
it is. It's very seductive. It can be very seductive. And they're probably, most of the time they're very attractive people on top of it. So it's not even just like that. And aesthetically, you tend to find them to be. I mean, look at the United States. It pimps out a dream, So it definitely has the pimp quality.
You said it pimps out a dream. Oh my god, that's so funny. Well, that's so funny. I have a certain kind of dynamic as the King of Diamonds with Jack of Diamonds. There's always like a okay, I see you, but real like cautious movement around, not too close, come in, pull away, like a little bit of a farty dynamics that come out, and I'm like, okay, and I bring it in just my own narcissistic flair. My name is the Jack of Diamonds, and I'm a King of Diamonds, and I've just like been in the root of like where any conflict lives inside of me, because I know that it's in our conflicts that we make up stories, and from those stories we create realities. So I'm listening and I'm like, because I do have that strong, charm. I have a way. Things pretty much go the way I would like it to go a lot of the time. But that's a big responsibility. And sometimes I don't want that responsibility. Sometimes I want to be the Jack just going off and doing whatever I want. I don't want to be so kingly.
And you have that Jack of Spades as your Jupiter, right?
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, that makes sense then.
Yeah, so it's just an awareness of how the Jack plays in the energy of my life and that kind of thing. But
yeah, it's probably the fence between I want to play, but I have to be a leader. I want to have fun. But I have to rule a castle. It's like a because the Jacks are the like I call it. It's like two bridges in this in the whole deck, the sevens and the Jacks, and the sevens are the bridges from that mundane energy to the spiritual, and then the Jacks are the initiation, which is also like a bridge because it brings forth the transformation, which as does the seven, because you realize you're the source. They're that
makes sense.
To the peasant, which I like to, and it's not like it's just an energy when I look at that peasantry, or to the royalty, right? Because the bridge from the Jacks is from that peasantry energy to a mastery, to a royalty, which requires more mastery, more responsibility, more integrity, more accountability. Because that's one thing about the Jacks: accountability. Or you want me to do something, or you want me to stick to a schedule, or because it rides a fence. Sometimes the play is way more intriguing than, oh, I gotta do that. I gotta be an adult, I gotta be responsible. So there's that teetering, I think, that the Jacks have, and then being a king and having that Jack of Spades in Jupiter, gives you that playful, I want to create, but there's still that sense of like, I have to be royalty, I have to be accountable, I have to be this, strength of energy. But the Jack just wants to have fun, so I think that's a big part of it. And then the Jack of Diamonds has the King of Spades is their cosmic lesson, I think. So even they, when they operate from that responsible, accountable energy, it's why they can attract and be a very successful card. And it brings forth their transformation, which is the Ace of Clubs, because then you're operating from a new set of values, a new set of ideas. You see it from a higher place, because again, the Jacks are an initiation. So it makes sense that this energy would then transform into an ace as a new opportunity, a new beginning, to do it in probably a much more responsible way, because they'll shriek from that responsibility. They're like,
well, why can't responsibility and fun go together? I mean, really.
Go ahead. And
no,
y'all gotta come on camera, please.
All right, I'm coming.
Please, I'm gonna leave.
Shut up.
I'm serious. Thank you.
All right. All right. So, why can't it be? Hi, Felix. Good morning. Why can't it be fun and the other?
But that's the balance, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the balance. Is you can have both, but you can't have too extreme of one. You know what I mean?
Oh, so then I have to leave the extremes. I have to come into the balance of being able to do both, like do my work, but also have my fun, and even sometimes have fun at work.
Right. I think
like,
that's I think that's a big part of the Jack energy, is because they're such a creative vibe. They're always, remember, they have a lot of 5 energy around them, above them, somewhere. It's a big part of them. So that it's that constant, being able to kind of switch it up, going in a different direction. So there's not a lot of stick. There's not a lot of stay here and do it.
Right.
Moving parts. But the king is, they're more that like, no, get the job done and then go play. And the Jack wants to play in the whole process of getting the job done, which then can delay the job getting done. Because they would much rather go play.
Yeah. I had a working relationship with that energy, and it can be a fun energy, but then there's also getting the work done, like a lot of pressure to making sure that you're not having too much fun. So they have to make sure they manage themselves, a lot of like self-development, self-management, because they know themselves that they can get distracted a little bit. And like you said, and that's
And they
another.
have financial issues. They're not usually standing on good financial form, Jack of Diamonds, the ones that I know. And like the whole Jack of Diamonds week. And the more I think about that America's a Jack of Diamonds and how much debt we're in and the games that we play with money, it's kind of crazy.
There you go.
There's always something. It's like it's a magical card. It is a magical placement. Uranus, Neptune, right? So
Yeah.
that's a part of the deception, the illusion, and that can be that they can be deceiving themselves. They can be self-illusionment, like something that they're not looking, not paying attention to their finances, or have a certain taste for something, right? And mess around and spend all their money on a significant other, or trying to look a certain look a certain way, or have a
Oh
certain
yeah, the look. Oh,
right.
the look. They definitely all have like looks. Yeah.
Listen, my
They
Nana.
all like. I'm not one, but go ahead.
Oh my God, my Nana is Jack of Diamonds, and it made everything make so much sense once I was able to see that. So she was a very, short Sicilian woman, but man, let you come in the house looking a mess, or she had this regal, her clothes and her, she loved to ballroom dance, so she had all these dresses and this jewelry. Like I would go and play with all of her stuff as a little girl, and it was like a dress up thing. And she did. It's like I think the Jack of Diamonds has this kind of keeping up with the Joneses type energy to them. My Nana was very much about what people maybe thought or saw or whatever, and me being me is I'll come ruin that. But she was having a get together at her house, and there was a spread of food, and we're Italian, and I'm a big, like, meatballs was my thing as a kid. Now too, even I won't eat usually them out at restaurants because I had two very Italian grandmothers who made meatballs from scratch, so that you can't touch that, right? And so I come running in the house thinking that these in this pan are my Nana's meatballs, and I'm gonna devour them, because that's what I did. And she has all her little friends around, because I don't even think this was a family thing. I think this was more of her friends, like, and it might have been her dancing friends too at that. I come running in, and as soon as the meatball touched my mouth, I spit it out everywhere. She was so mortified and so embarrassed. And she pinched me, because that's what they did. They pinch you and drag you into a room and yell at you.
They did. They pinched you. That's so true. I got pinched.
Oh my God! Right at the back of the arm too. It's like, yo,
yeah.
In church all the time. Stop it. Anyways, and I told her, I said, "What were those?" She said, "I didn't have time to make the meatball. I had to buy it frozen." I was like, "Well, you should have warned me." That was gross. She was mortified. So they had this thing of like, just, keeping up with the Joneses. She was funny though. Oh my God. My Nana and I were like thick as thieves. And I get it now because we were both Jacks. It's why her and I just were like this. I have a very, I realized people in my life that I had probably the most fun with were other Jacks.
Yeah, they definitely can have fun though. Yeah, it like you said, make work environment fun, and making this entertaining. Like the Three of Spades is an entertainment card. That's what I said. Like movies and very entertaining. And I have to look at that pension thing. That might be the Uranus. My cousin, gosh, he's fun, but he does take work seriously because he's a hustler. So.
Yeah.
Like, and in that work environment, it can be kind of like intense for him because he has a furniture store, landscaping company, and I think at the time he may have like pressure washer or something else on the side he was doing. So it was always about the little things, the details. Like very detail oriented as well. I think maybe photographic memories, possibly. Um, like they're very smart, intelligent, can research things, and like you said, the attention to detail. I can see like from a woman if you cook their food or they like it's not theirs, right? They probably different taste and memory. So yeah, but yeah, the punching thing I have the or pinching because he'll punch me in my chest like if something was wrong on the job, right?
Oh yeah.
So it was a little bit of abuse in there, a little bit. And my mom, like, she did give me plenty of whoopings in my day. So
Well, they have the Eight of Diamonds as their reward card, so it really does make sense. Like if they are consistent, if they stay the course and get, like you said, hustle, they'll hustle because they love the money, they love the success, they love that flash too, the wealth that it can bring. Like someone said in the comments, like they're not a friend. They don't. They can be irresponsible with their money because they can just create more. Like you said, they'll have a hustle, a side hustle, and another side hustle that you might not even know about because all of their cards sit in Neptune. You probably don't even know half the shit they got going on. So, because it's hidden, So, and it's same thing with this country.
the money, right? That's what was
Yeah,
being.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
True story.
Eight of Diamonds is your result card. Four of Diamonds is your Venus card. They like that, that having that sense of security, and stability is very important to them. But again, like you said, I think that's where that King of Spades has to come in. And the Jack of Diamonds who really operate from that King of Spades as a cosmic lesson, there's nothing they probably couldn't attract to them, because it's all about the consistency, the determination. Those eights are like Energizer bunnies. It's boundaries. It's like, I'm going to do it this way. And that's how it's going to go.
The essence of it, and that's the part of it that can be seen as the bully, I think, because it's wavering and it's kind of fixed in the goal, the mission, and accomplishing things, But like I said, there's a balance, between knowing what to do, and also being someone that's coachable and being able to work with other people. I think that's the thing with the eights is learning how to work in cooperation. Like those can be like corporate people, and because it can be working with a group or a business, because it's going to be business oriented in some type of way. I think those are your social energies, your more business oriented people, even if they're probably not in business for themselves, working around groups and being the leader or person in charge because they're so demanding or in rule or in charge. So having that as a cosmic lesson, they like you say, it can. Is that the cosmic? Is that the reward or cosmic reward? The Eight of Diamonds
Eight of
is,
Diamonds is their reward. Yeah.
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 So
So I
having,
just had this thought. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just thinking how the Jacks want to make this money and show up, and the Queens want to spend it and act like we got it all, right? And the King, sorry, and the King's trying to like manage it in a way that the kids and the people coming next are gonna be okay.
Building a castle.
Very interesting. And the Jacks don't want to be told anything from the Kings, and the Queens just want the good feeling of being able to give it away and looking pretty.
Basically, yeah, the sun.
I know it's early morning simplicity, but that's
no. But if you're
gonna
break it down to like that's it.
Yeah, I'm like, damn.
Yep. And
their balance of those things would have all to do with like shared values, right? Because every one of it's like an ego thing, right? So the Jack wants to be that player, that mover, that shaker, that guy, that gal, whatever, right? And the Queen just wants the reflection back, like give it to me, love me, tell me I'm great stuff, right? And the King has the responsibility in their ego to be like, I've got to make sure everyone's okay. I've got to make sure everyone's okay. So it's all kind of informs egoic imprints in a way, because if you don't have the value of like, well, are we all thinking about what comes next? Are we all considering the values of what it means to do this in our family? Because I know that the authority game with the Jack of Diamonds to the Kings, those conversations can be a little bit like, tension and taunting and stuff. It's almost like you can't tell me what to do. It's like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm trying to decide what we can all do. I don't want to tell you what to do. But as soon as it comes in with that, godlike voice, it's like, hey, don't you be pushing your stuff at me. I'm like, my stuff? I'm looking at the stuff. It's not my stuff. Like, you can see the news, you can see what's happening. But anyways, I'm just really considering how those energies have basic imprints and then the idea of themselves that comes with the imprint. Because I'm recognizing how much right now is about, can you really soften the idea of yourself or the egoic imprint and allow yourself to become part of the solution?
Yeah, like with the Eight of Diamonds for the consummate, I can see that kind of being the challenge of wanting authority, control. I
Mm-hmm.
think we all have desires of what innate. I can say innate goals. That we want for ourselves in life. So
Mm-hmm.
those push those particular characters and of course the characteristic around the cards itself, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the cooperation, I think, is what you were speaking or hinting at, or how do we all work together? And I think that's the point of initiation and learning who you are, your innate skills, your abilities, and
Mm-hmm.
the things that you're kind of best at, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's no particular conflict, and there is a sense of understanding this person is who they are. There's really no controlling them. I think at the end of the day, they say you can't really change people, and certain times in the science, some Will's in Victoria's room, and Will's like, "What is astrology like? What's the purpose? Like, is it this innate characteristic things that we're supposed to use for our strengths, or does it look to our immediate disabilities where we have to get stronger?" And it's a mix of all of that, right? So using each particular thing to get better and to self-reflect and understand our purpose and flow, you know. But the balance of everything, that's why I think we live in chaos. It is a balance, and we all have our own karmas and particular skills, industries to work in. It's kind of hard to say who's going to be in your industry and what type of attitude they have and how they're going to use it. So using it for the betterment is definitely, I think, should be everyone's goal, and that's why we're here. I think when you don't look at it, you don't self-analyze, and you may go to a therapist, but then they may not tell you that you're a jack of diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I
Yeah.
feel like I got to be in such control? Maybe you should work for
Mm-hmm.
you find yourself in a subordinate position, and that's what sometimes with jacks they don't live up to their capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
and they like my mom. She's I'm not to say she's always could probably have been a person that had a business to herself, but the Jack of Diamonds, but she works at Charter. That's still in the same essence of the Jack of Diamonds industry energy because it's communication, networking, entertainment. She works for Charter, right? It's an entertainment company, television, right? So I always look at the spaces like TV, entertainment, and those particular things. So she's in the correct industry, and she's a manager. She's been in that position for years to to um to like a ITT tech school. So who would know, like the Jack of Diamonds going from one of those schools that you see on TV. I think of Little Romeo every time I think of those. What are you doing sitting on your couch every day? Come on down to school so we can give you a degree and you can get a skill. But who would have knew like one of those particular like points of education to lead her to a position of authority, right? So these things are kind of innate in us, and now she's branching off into like photography and those things, which I think is like still Jack of Diamonds ish, entertainment photography, and she
Mm-hmm.
probably can,
Creative.
yeah, create.
Creative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she
Definitely creative.
probably that industry herself, but it's like that's just in her destiny and her line path. But eventually, she'll probably be self-sustaining and self-sufficient in some type of way. So, yeah, these things I think are innate and born in us, and it's a natural flow that we too got to step into because like sometimes we don't uh, resonate on the highest side of these particular cards.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where there can be
Mm-hmm.
doubt, fear, especially with the Jack of Diamonds. They sit Uranus, Neptune. It can be fear. That's why at times they need faith. And a lot of times there's a spiritual placement as well.
I think that high side, low side is a real deal, and it has so much to do with what you listen to, what you say, your music, your life, your words, right? Like somebody put up a post this morning, a friend of mine, and he said along the lines that like the devil, you know, just in reference to like the low side of things or the more undermining part of life, doesn't do it to us. We do it to us by the way we talk to ourselves and the way we respond to success and failure. Do you know what I mean? That like we create it by how we respond. So if you think about how Lewis will bring in this whole concept, or even Vontae, of how your chart is exactly what you agreed to do to be here. Like you're on a string, you're growing through something, like you're on a journey of like evolution, right? So it would make so much sense that again, the power tool of our own voice and our own expression is going to be setting a tone for the direction. So if you're on the downbeat, if you're a 2 and you're picking a side and you don't know what neutral is and you're fighting with your whole heart, no matter how much good stuff's happening, unless you're back into neutral and growing from your 2 to the next thing, you're off in the sauce.
I think the biggest, when going back to Rashad asking, like, you know, what is the purpose of the astrology or even just the cards? It is to, you know, understand self and to understand that certain things, you know, like you said, were born into, you know, when I was born, this planet and this was doing this. So that's what
I'm influenced by that. Yeah.
Right. But a lot of times, because, you know, when you look from the 0 to 7, your subconscious mind was being, you know, programmed. And if it wasn't a healthy voice or a healthy environment, you're kind of growing up reliving those experiences in different experiences, right? Different ways. And so until you recognize that maybe that wasn't healthy, and maybe it was, but it was what you needed, you know, to kind of, like you say, progress and grow, and again come back to self. And I think that's why this isn't like taught in any kind of like way and shape or form, because everything, when you really look at it, like religion and the school systems and everything else, it keeps you disconnected. It has you looking outside for some kind of savior or energy, whatever it is. It keeps you from within. And now we're all out, everyone's out there trying to figure out who, you know, what is what and what's up, what's down. So for me, the purpose has been to really, because even when we first got into this space, it was to understand yourself, study your spread. That's the key, you know. And it's like, and it's not ever something that I feel like you come to a completion, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of, like, you get a lot of peace, a lot of forgiveness. And then, like you said, I think once you like really go within, what is the voice within? How do you respond when, you know, because shit hits the fan all the time. How do you respond to that? How do you look at that? You know, I always tell in the readings and stuff, like, again, when you see a lot of those 7s and those 9s, it's probably asking you to really look, like, how do you respond? Do you find the bright side, or are you always going to find the negative side? Can you find the silver lining? Can you see the blessing? Can you see when things don't go the way you may have imagined them to be? And can you see what they really are and why it happened? Like, it does require a lot of like sitting and breaking things down, but also accountability for how you respond to things, how you behave with things, or just, and a lot of times too, it's not even just to other people, it's what you say to yourself.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm bringing in, is like these tones, these undertones, these defeated kind of concepts, or these like self-talk that can really like shame you internally.
If you grew up with a father who said you're stupid every 5 seconds, or, you know, anytime you came with something and he didn't value it, you're, you know, that's a, you know, something you have to work through. But you can't, you're probably in your chart, you have a placement that energy can play out like that. But see,
and that's part of your classroom, and that's part of where you have to regain your power and say, I have the steering wheel, I have the radio dial, I'm choosing, and I'm changing. You know,
because not everybody who has, like, you can look at like the 6 of Spades, for instance, you know, they have the Queen of Hearts and Mercury. A lot of the 6 of Spades may have an abusive mom, or they have, you know, a lot of abuse that could come, but then there's 6s that didn't. You know what I mean? Not everybody has, so it you know, it could have been an overbearing. Anybody who has a queen as a Mercury could have someone who is very protective as a mother. That could be the other side of it. Not everybody who has Pluto in the 4th house is going to have, you know, experience abuse. But there's something transforming within your home, right? You may have to, maybe the foundations of your home. Well, we're really close. There we go.
I was trying to see
Oh.
the background, but I'm bringing. Oh well. Yeah, I was trying to show the light spread. You were
Yeah, no,
talking.
that, yeah. I was just like, woo, hello. But so not everybody who has to, you
Did
know,
we
the fourth.
cross your boundaries, Gina? Did
Yeah,
you
it's
have your
really close.
boundaries crossed?
Really great. Right there. I have a bubble.
Back up, back up, back up, back up.
Yeah. I don't like things in my face. But yeah, so not everybody who has those, like, what people would deem like a, oh, you know, Pluto in the 4th or Chiron in the 4th, or, you know, if you know, depending on where your Venus card is, you know, what happened in your, you know, not everything is going to play out as abuse and tragic. That's those highs and those lows, you know, and it also depends on your parents and how they've evolved. If they've done the healing, you can actually look at those placements as a way to, you know, overcome certain things too, rather than be like, oh no, I'm gonna, you know, instead of fearing those placements. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's like it's always like that's the I'm sorry, I'm gonna pass it back. That's the map. Like you looked at the atlas, and that's how you have to go, and that's part of the journey. But go ahead, Rashad.
no, I say you were talking about like the parents and the early like childhood experiences. Speaking of like from a Jack of Diamonds perspective, like with the 4 of Hearts and Mercury, well having a 4 in Mercury, I was looking at like the importance in the role of the family or the father and the home and those things with the 4 and Mercury, right? Because that's the earliest points and stages of childhood. The 0 to 7 or 0 to 12, however you may look at it, from a light spread point of view, right? Is how we look at the progressions of the ages. So the 4 of Hearts, you have 4s for the Jack of Diamonds, you know. So the influence of the family, the household, right? And how it can maybe be too restrictive because the Jack of Diamonds is a freedom card. You know, it needs freedom, it needs space. Of course, it needs discipline first and foremost. But so those 4s should be to give it discipline and it should
Right.
give it structure, give it work ethics, right? Or some type of, but a stable home may not, or I've seen it not be very stable, but it has instilled the essence of wanting stability in some type of, or desiring that maybe in adulthood, or because they didn't get it, it could be fear there as well, or the unknowing, or trying to, or creating an illusion of this perfect home that's not so perfect, and because there's maybe being absent, working, or them just or just being absent because they're having fun or trying to escape. But and so it's like this contradiction of wanting this family home or this thing, but maybe not actually getting it in some type of way. But like you said, there's you know the good and bad, or trying to figure out where this particular card or how the home is in effect affected. So how you look at it, Gina, your perspective with that 4 of Hearts and Mercury and how it can play out.
Well, I look at my Nana, you know, it's funny because her and my papa were, and I didn't even know this until I was like 18, 19 years old, it, that they were actually divorced, but they still lived together.
Right. That,
And I was like, well,
like
this is why we're all screwed up. Like, hello, what are you doing? But they had this, it was almost like, I think because they're old school and divorce was, you know, a no-no back then.
they want to stay together, like the Pluto and Cancer
Yep.
generation, like
Yep.
holding together a broken home. You know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so and I believe my grandfather, I think he was a 5 of diamonds. I'm pretty sure he was a 5 of diamonds. 4 of diamonds or 5 of diamonds.
And the 5 of Diamonds have Pluto. The 4 of Hearts is their Pluto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm pretty sure it was a 5 of diamonds. So you know, I didn't even know that. Like, cause I was a kid. They lived in the same house. But I remember he had his room over here. She had her room. I didn't think anything of it. I was a kid. but it all made sense when I put it together. Why they, they would bicker. Their relationship was funny, but we did everything. Family, the Sunday dinner. My mom would definitely. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my nana and my papa because they were the grandparents that lived in Florida. My dad's parents lived in New York, so that was like a trip. They would come down, or we would go up there. But yeah, these two I grew up with. And was very close to. I was their only granddaughter, so I was very spoiled.
Mm-hmm. That's why she can say, "You put your camera on, or I'm hanging up."
Yeah,
The little bitch.
Yeah, so it can lead
true.
to.
And she
I
wonders
think
about her daughters, how sassy they are. Come on.
It's got its qualities.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
so yeah,
Yeah, that family, that Pluto and Cancer, that's really interesting because that's a big change now, right? Because we're not there anymore, and
Mm-mm.
changing out of those ideas, that's part of what's collectively happening, no? Like family's not held like that, but yet there's a real love for family again and everyone being together, but in more authentic ways, right? But there's there's honor still in the idea that we're gonna work together regardless of how hard it is.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you guys not see that honor? How do you hear that?
Well, I think in where we are right now is almost forcing families to have to figure it out because
Yeah.
economically it's you don't have a choice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which could be a good thing because if you really look at it, the high side of that, there can be a lot of healing because you can't. Where are you going to go? You got to work through your stuff if you're going to make it work, right? You see a lot of
Mm-hmm.
better co-parenting. I mean, in some spaces, in some places, not always because that does require a lot of maturity and growing up to be able to co-parent with someone, in a healthy way for the children. But I with my grandparents, it like I said, I didn't realize it until I was a teenager, a young adult, that they were married and they were divorced, and I was like, oh my God. That lived in the same house, and my nana took care of my papa when he got Parkinson's. She took care of him.
So they had
You
a
know,
real friendship. They had a real
yeah,
loyal, dear friendship. That's
yeah, and
beautiful.
my papa just let her do because she was out. She's social. That Jack of Diamonds, oh my God. She worked, so she retired, but still did stuff. Like she didn't, I mean, she was very active. That's why when she got sick, we were all really, it was bad because she was gone within like 6 months. It was devastating.
Oh.
Yeah, so she loved the shows. I've been to because of my nana. I've seen Broadway shows. I've seen plays. My whole childhood was, being exposed to the arts because of her. And she volunteered when the Kravis Center was built in Palm Beach. My nana, I mean, and that was her way of seeing the shows for free. She could work there. She was a volunteer usher, and she watched all. I mean, I've seen Cats. I mean, she took me to New York to see a Broadway show. She loved the dance. She loved that stage, that Jack of
Nice.
Diamonds. So that's why it made so much sense to me that when I was when unpacking the cards and putting the cards to my family, I was like, oh my God. That's what she was. It's very social butterfly, loved to entertain people always. I mean, when you walk in, and I even did her obituary or whatever it is when you speak at the service.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, I absolutely did. It was hard. The priest had to come and like hold me up because that was my nana, man. And that was one thing
Oh.
I brought into the speech was like you could walk in, and even if you just ate, she is shoving something down your throat, and you're gonna eat it because if you didn't eat it, that was a disrespect to her. Like she would always have food. She'd always cook. I mean, and when she cooked, and that's why I don't know how to cook like just one thing. It's a spread because of
What
her.
year was she born, Gina? What year was she born?
Oh my God, I don't know. I'd have to find her thing. I can't remember. She passed. Like my daughter is, because I believe my oldest is her. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So she passed when I was pregnant with my oldest when my nana passed. I was barely in. I just found out I was pregnant in May. She passed in July, June or July
Okay.
that same year. And I put the sonogram picture of my daughter that I had gotten, the first one, and it's with her. So I wholeheartedly believe she is, my daughter's got her spirit somehow. Because even in the cards, that I've talked about this before, when my Nana passed, their birthdays, my daughter's birthday and her birthday are only a few days apart. And when my Nana passed, in the time frame that she passed, she was, I believe, in her Saturn period, and she's a Capricorn, and the cards that she had were mine and my daughter's.
Wow.
And I was pregnant with my daughter. So I wholeheartedly believe. And I even have a painting of my Nana on my wall, because that's another thing. Jack of Diamonds, she had a painting of herself. And I took it because I wanted that. That was the only thing I wanted. I didn't want anything. The way that my family handled her passing was, ugh. But I was like, I just want the picture. And so it's hanging up on the wall, and not even on purpose. It's actually facing my daughter's room.
Nice. Watching over yourself.
Yeah.
Giving it. Nice.
Yeah. So she was, and even like growing up, like I had a friend, her birthday was yesterday. And we grew up together, and man, she's a Jack of clubs. And so I realized those Jack energies, we have a ball, because me and her we were lucky we made it out alive.
I do have a lot of fun with Jacks myself.
And the things that we did.
That's so interesting to think that your family can kind of come back and be in the alchemy again, right? And from a different lens, from a different perspective, right? That kind of leaves us, like how Nick was saying in the room the other night, like the soul is like a blank slate in a way, but it's having all these different experiences in this form, right? So it's interesting to imagine, because you said that you said that the Jack of Diamonds transforms to the Ace of Clubs, but I think your eldest is an Ace of Spades, right? So
yeah,
I'm just watching and hearing about those things, because it would say like just out having fun, but then like who am I, and how do I run, and what's important to me? What's me? Like how do I use my energy as an ace, and then how do I not play? Because like we've touched on, sometimes the aces can be a little sneaky.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I have to go get ready, but I'm here.
Yeah, I have to leave. I have to go here a little
Okay.
bit. But transitions, even within death and afterlife, can be kind of seen in the cards. It is interesting. I do know my grandmother passed on the Three Diamonds Day, and my mother migrated to make sure she told me. So it was like, a real strong connection with that energy that I kind of felt that day. It was kind of heavy, but yeah, looking at the patterns within the people within your family is the easiest way to learn the cards. You know, even after, even like Gina was saying, I've looked at, even saying like looking after someone's passed, kind of like, I forgot the word too, but giving at the memorial, right, or speaking about the essence and that energy.
The eulogy, you mean? Are you talking about the eulogy?
Yes, that's what it's called.
Speaking at doing I think I think that is kind of I see that in the future. I don't know, me doing it or whomever, but I can see someone doing that in the future, so people can really understand the energy that they was living with. Because we haven't made this as normal in our living on this lifetime, but I
Oh,
think
you mean like to describe the card's life, if you will, like in the
right,
eulogy, like talk about it? That's interesting.
yeah, so you
So,
give proper um
yeah.
light on that card. But yeah, but I do have to run. I have to finish
All
it
right.
to get to work. But I enjoyed it. Was there anything in closing? I go through the comments before we go as well. Everyone said good morning. Hopefully we said good morning when we came on, but we didn't. And very talkative cards they are. Speaking of like the crow, right? They will talk your head off. That's why we have to get off before we talk your head off. New York 42nd Street, Miss Pimp City. They are some pimps. They the Jack of Diamonds. We can name them pimps. We will get them. They can. Nick said he'd rather work with the Kings versus Jacks because they aren't responsible enough. Yeah, it can be a balance there. That they definitely have.
Mm-hmm.
I've I've seen some successful Jacks. Me and Nick. She said, "Have they ever been successful Jacks?" Yeah, I've seen them. They have to be they're very creative and have a lot going on though. 9 times out of 10. Um, so we appreciate you all for coming in and sharing your ideas, your thoughts, and of course responding and reflecting. Because as we said, the energy in itself explains itself, but your validation also helps. So we're not looking like we're just talking crazy. So, yeah, careless with money definitely have to understand that concept because it seems to just come to them by magic. Yeah, they once they put their mind and they and that other thing with that Ace of Clubs, they will put the time and research. So it seems magical to us because they're up late hours researching and trying to figure out how to do it exactly. So, um, yeah, so we appreciate you all with your reflections and information in comparison to the other cards as well and systems. Because these systems are very similar and they're used as staples. So, yeah, anything before closing or going out, Madeline? Regina?
No, I learned a lot about a lot of things again. I'm always amazed how much you can keep learning all the time. And I will continue to use this information to balance the Jack and King inside of me.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
creative, have fun, and we'll see. Next week is a Queen of Diamonds week, so
Mhm.
don't spend all your money.
How about- hold your pockets. Hold your pockets.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely, it's been a diamond type of couple of weeks for me. It's definitely been leaky pockets. So we're gonna
Leaky pocket.
try. But I appreciate you all.
Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.